Hare Krishna, dear devotees, let us chant one round of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in Japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshaparini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता एज इट इज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for all session. Let us recite Bhagavad Gita Sloka. We are reciting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, texts 12 and 13. Anyone needs to go? Saujanya Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
One second, let me remove the synonyms. So
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, then the pranams are goes to Srila Prabhupada, are goes to the assembled devotees.
Pranam Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Vacha. Oops.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Arjuna Vacha. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashwatam Divyam Adidevam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradas Ashito Devalo Vyasha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Ashita, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Hare Krishna.
Anyone else needs to go first? So we'll just go in order. Achit Priya Mataji. Oh, Usha Mataji is raising her hand.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Mataji.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashwatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishya Sarve Devarshir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the present, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Thank you, Mataji.
Achit Priya Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Jai Shri Krishna,
Yes, Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Sasvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum Ahustam Rishaya Sarve Devarshi Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasaho Swayam Chaiva Bravishimi. Translation Translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me." Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Achinta Dev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat, Prabhuji. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Vacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Pavitram Paramam Bhavam
Purusham Shashwatam Divyam
Purusham Sasvatam Divyam
Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum
Adi Devam Ajam Bhivum
Ahustvam Rishayah Sarve
Ahustam Rishya Sarve
Devarshir Naradastatha
Devarshir Naradastata
Asito Devalo Vyasaha
Asito Devalo Vyasaha
Swayam Chaiva Bravishime.
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and you yourself are declaring it to me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita.
Mataji, they'll lead a little later.
Okay. So, Inba, Inya, Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
The volume, I can't hear.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum Ahustam Rishaya Sarve Devashir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Shaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Yes. Inya.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuno Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vipum Ahustvam Rishayas Sarve Devashir Naradastatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Deva Rishir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Translation, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji will go last.
Okay. Isha.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradastatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Yes. Krishna Shish.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Yeah. Madhava.
Param Brahma Param Dharma Pavitram Param Bhavan Nesam Sasvatam Divyam Adi Devam Vatam Vibhum Astram Visaya Sarve Devam Senarada Sataha Asito Devam Yasaha Swayam Sarva Bhavisana. Arjuna said, "Let us speak the deity of Father, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me.
Rasapriya.
Arjuna Vasa Param Brahma Param Dharma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusam Sasvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Prabhum Ahostvam Visaya Sarve Nevam Sirnaradasthatha Asito Devam Vyasaha Swayam Seva Pravisana. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now, you yourself are declaring it to me.
Lokesh. Actually, Sonia Mataji is here.
Yes, Mataji.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Sasvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rushayah Sarve Devarshi Naradasthatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Cheva Bravishini. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Lokesh.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shastram Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahastvam Visaya Sarve Devarshi Naradasthatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages such as Narada, Sita, Devala, and Vyasa confirmed this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, Prabhuji are there.
No, Mataji.
Medha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Sasvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarishi Naradasthatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Pravishime. Translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages, such as Narada, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now,
Asita is also there.
Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me.
Narsimha Leela Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat pranam to all Guru Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna Vacha Parabrahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshi Naradasthatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishyame Bravishime. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me." Hare Krishna. Other sermon.
Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances of Lord Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishayah Sarve Devarishir Naradastatha Swayam Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Translation. Arjun said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Prajna.
Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Acham Vibhum Ahustvam Shya Sarve Devarshir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirmed this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Hare Krishna.
Vindhyavali Mataji. Not ready? Vindhyavali Mataji.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I did. Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Acham Vibhum Ahutvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshi Naradattata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances are Gauri Srila Prabhupada Mataji.
Accept my humble obeisances,
I'm
Mataji.
sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Arunita and Aditi Lata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Sastutam Divyam Adidaivam Ajam Vibhum Tustupam Lodaya Sarve Davase Naradastata Asito devalo yasa savayam chaiva nivashime. Translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances on pledge to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Param Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradas Tatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Pravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Sashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradastatha Ashito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Pravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. And also recite Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 12 and 13. Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishayah Sarve Devarshir Naradas Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest absolute truth." One second.
The eternal. You are the eternal.
You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Thank you. Did anyone not recite yet? Everyone has recited? Okay. I have a question. What do you call forgiving in Hindi or Sanskrit? Forgiving. Forgiving.
Shama karna.
Shama kare.
Shama. Yes, thank you. So I just listened to one talk with His Grace Gauranga Prabhu, and the last point there was that what is the message that you would like to give to all the devotees or all the people in general about, after talking about whatever he has done so far after joining the Krishna consciousness movement in 30 years, what's your message that you want? So he said that skills, we all learn skills. Skills, they come and go. But the most important thing that we have to hold on is that our identity is we are the servant of the servant of the servant. And we should hold on to 4 principles. What are those 4 principles? So this talk was in Hindi. So he said, Namrata, Sahanshilata, Kshama. Kshama Shilata, is it a word or only Kshama? I don't know. So Kshama means being forgiving. And the 4th one is Kritagyata. So in English, the 4 qualities that we should hold on to or we should try to cultivate are humility, tolerance, forgiveness, and gratitude. Humility, tolerance, forgiveness, and gratitude. If you cultivate these qualities, then you can remain in this consciousness of being a servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. And this is what we should hold on to at all times. The other things, positions, skills, name, recognition, things like this, they come and they go. But this is what you can, will take you forward. So this is our identity, being a servant, and these qualities are conducive to maintaining this identity as a servant. I thought I found that very valuable, so I thought I'll just share it with you at the beginning of the class itself. So now let's begin reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We have completed Canto 9, Chapter 5 yesterday, and we also read the introduction.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna,
yes.
Mataji, I didn't
Sorry.
recite.
Yes, please, Mataji. Sorry, I didn't see you.
I joined late just now.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Arjuna Uvacha, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ahushvam Rashaya Sharve Deva Shri Naradash Tatha Ashita Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishi Me. Hare Krishna. Oh, okay, translation. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the abode, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Ashita Devala, and Vyasa, confirms this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Hare Krishna. Mataji. Thank you.
So let's.
Mataji, what are the 4 things you said? Humility,
tolerance, forgiveness, and gratitude.
forgiveness, and gratitude. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Achintya Dev Prabhu.
Mataji, all these qualities we should be always adhering to in spite of other people not adhering to it, right? We should not be influenced by the action of other people. If we are forgiving somebody, we should continue forgiving him, even though the other person behaves otherwise.
We should cultivate these qualities within ourselves, or we should aspire for these qualities, because these qualities actually, as I told you before, harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna. If you're not a devotee, how can you have good qualities? These are all good qualities. They will come when you become a good devotee. So, but at least we should be aspiring for these qualities and trying to cultivate, but that will come when we are practicing Krishna consciousness. So you are looking for these qualities within yourself. Humility, forgiveness. So yes, you must exercise forgiveness. So forgiveness does not mean that you spoil somebody, especially if you are if you are a guru or you are a father or you are a teacher, right? It doesn't mean that you just keep forgiving and the person just takes you for granted. But forgiveness means you don't hold any grudges against that person. That's what it means. You may do the needful, to help the other person give up the bad habits, but you're not holding grudges against that person. You're not. So that's what forgiveness means. You are even praying for that person, that this person should, whatever harm, like Ambarish Maharaj, right? Forgiving Durvasa Muni. He didn't even hold anything in his heart. And when he saw Durvasa Muni in that condition, he was ready. That is forgiveness. But at the same time, he still did what he had to do. He had to break, in order to please the Supreme Lord, he had to break the fast, so he broke the fast. Right? He did that. Whether Ambarish Maharaj felt bad or not, he did that. But at the same time, he did not hold anything against. So, am I addressing your question? Forgiveness?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So, forgiveness, we have to. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, let's continue reading. So, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 6. If you remember, Canto 9 is talking about the descendants of Vaivasvata Manu. Okay, so all the chapters that we read so far, we were reading about the sons of Vaivasvata Manu and then the descendants of those sons. So in that line, we came to Ambarish Maharaj. So now with that introduction, let's begin reading. Now Ambarish Maharaj's sons we will read like that. So yesterday, text 1, let's quickly see what we read in text 1. Sukadev Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, Ambarish had 3 sons named Virupa, Ketuman and Shambhu. From Virupa came a son named Prishadashva, and from Prishadashva came a son named Rathitara. Okay. They are the grandsons of Ambarish Maharaj. Text 2. So we have to begin with Inba. रथितरस्या प्रजस्य भार्यायां तन्तवेर्थितः अंगिराजनयाम् आसा ब्रह्मवर्चस्विनः सुतान्. Inba.
Rathitara had no sons, and therefore he requested the great sage Angira to beget sons for him. Because of this request, Angira begot sons in the womb of Rathitara's wife. All these sons were born with Brahmanical prowess.
So, Rathitara is the grandson of Ambarish Maharaj, right? And Rathitara had no sons. So they are kings, Kshatriyas. And Rathitara had no sons. So he requested the Brahmana, the great sage Angira, to beget sons for him. Something like Vyasdev begetting sons in the wives of Vichitravirya. Vichitravirya Maharaj's wives were Ambika and Ambalika. But Vichitravirya had left his body. So, on the request of Satyavati, Vyasdev, who is a sage, a Brahmana, he came and begot sons in the womb of Vichitravirya's wives. Now the sons are considered as the sons of Vichitravirya only. They are still Kshatriyas. But under special circumstances, So, yeah, anyway. So it is acceptable. So here in this case, Ratitara's wives were impregnated by Angira Rishi, the great sage Angira. So because of this request, Angira begot sons in the womb of Ratitara's wife. All these sons were born with Brahminical prowess. The father was a Brahmin, and the sons had Brahminical prowess, Brahminical power. Okay. Now purport, Inya. Inya, you're there?
In the Vedic age, a man was sometimes called upon to beget sons in the womb of a lesser man's wife for the sake of better progeny. In such an instance, the woman is compared to an agricultural field. A person possessing an agricultural field may employ another person to produce food grains from it. But because the grains are produced from the land, they are considered the property of the owner of the land. Similarly, a woman was sometimes allowed to be impregnated by someone other than her husband, but the sons born of her would then become her husband's sons. Such sons were called Kshetrajata. Because Rathitara had no sons, he took advantage of this method.
So, from Shastra, anything which is given in Shastra is authorized. That we have to understand. When it is said in the Shastra, then that is the authority. That is, it's right. It's an acceptable way. So what is being said here? There is a method that if the husband is not able to produce children in the wife, what is the whole purpose of marriage? The purpose of marriage is to continue the lineage, so that you'll get a child, and the child, will continue the dynasty. So if the husband for some reason is not able to give birth, not able to produce children, sometimes the husband is dead, or in other cases he's not able to produce children, then you can still have a man of either equal or higher status. Here it is specifically said higher status. There's also another system where if the husband is dead, then the husband's brother can impregnate. Same thing, like in Vyasdev's case also. Who is Vyasdev? Satyavati's son. And who is Vichitravirya? Also Satyavati's son. Only Vyasdev was the son of Parashar Muni, and Vichitravirya was the son of Shantanu Maharaj. But nevertheless born of the same mother, so he was the brother. So Shastra allows that in the absence of the husband, then the husband's brother can impregnate and produce children. That's all. To produce just for the sake of producing children, it is allowed. Of course, this practice is not allowed in Kali Yuga. This is also stated in Shastra. In Kali Yuga, it is not allowed. 5 things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. Offering cow's meat, offering cow sacrifice, right? Offering cow sacrifice, offering horse sacrifice, then accepting of sannyas, offering flesh to the ancestors. That was also a practice, right? You can offer meat, flesh in Shraddha, you can offer flesh to the ancestors. That's forbidden in Kali Yuga. And finally, impregnating the wife of one's brother. This practice, although it is given in Shastra, particularly in Kali Yuga, these things are forbidden. It's not allowed. That is also Shastra. We have to accept it. So similarly, here we see that the practice, okay, so one thing is brother, husband's brother can do. This is only in emergency. When there is a dire need, it is allowed. And the other thing is, even if husband's brother is also not there, then you see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, a man of a higher status. In the Vedic age, a man was sometimes called upon to beget son in the womb of a lesser man's wife. That means, in this case, Angira Muni is a Brahmana and Ratitara is a Kshatriya. Brahmana is higher than Kshatriya. So, Brahmana can be invited to produce children in a Kshatriya wife. That is allowed. Even in marriages, you see, the girl being selected should either be of the same varna or can be of a lower varna. That's allowed. But she should not be of a higher varna than the husband. Then there will be discrepancies. She should be either equal or lower. Or when you're looking for a husband, the husband should be either equal or higher, not lower in varna, like that. So therefore here, even for the sake of begetting children, a man can beget children in the womb of a lesser man's wife in case of emergency. When there is need, it is allowed. Achintya Dev Prabhu.
Mataji, you said one of the four is taking sannyas. It's not allowed. So we
Yes.
have sannyasis.
Yes, so there are two types of sannyas. One is called Ekadanda and the other one is called Tridanda. Ekadanda sannyas means Ekadanda means I am one with the Supreme. That's what it means. Ekadanda. What is the significance of Ekadanda? I am one with that absolute truth. So this is the Brahmavadi's type of sannyas, right? Or even the Mayavadis take the same type of sannyas, Advaitins. So that means Aham Brahmasmi. Everything is, ultimately there is Brahman. Brahman is the topmost, right? The ultimate truth is Brahman. Absolute truth ultimately is Brahman. And I am also that Brahman, because Brahman has no variety. So when you say I am Brahman, there's only Brahman in the end, nothing else is there. So we are all also Brahman, like that. So therefore one, there's only one. There's no two, there's only one. This is called Advaita. Dvaita means two, Advaita means no two, only one. So in that type of sannyas is forbidden. What does Tridandi sannyas mean? Tridanda means, you will see Vaishnav sannyasis, they carry danda. In that danda, actually there will be three dandas inside the cloth, three dandas. Tridanda sannyas means you offer your body, mind and words to the Supreme Lord. That means with your mind you will not think about anything about the Supreme Lord, you will serve the Supreme Lord with your mind. With your speech you will not speak anything except the glories of the Supreme Lord, or you use your speech only in the service of the Supreme Lord. And your body. Body means your senses, everything, working senses and everything. You will use only in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is surrender, right? So this type of sannyas, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, of course, he accepted this sannyas. He accepted sannyas from the Advaitin, because at that time that is what was available. He accepted that, but then Nityananda Prabhu broke the danda into three pieces and threw it in a river. What is this? My Lord is accepting sannyas. He is the supreme enjoyer. Why? What is? And he's carrying this danda. How dare this danda? He has to carry. He has to carry this danda. What does this danda think of himself? My Lord will carry him around. like that. Nityananda broke it. But after that, there was his disciples, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's direct disciples were all, they were Babajis, like the Goswamis. There's no, Babajis means they are even superior to sannyasis. You have 8 Brahmana Kshatriya in Varna Ashram, 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams. Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishya Shudra, Brahmachari Grihastha Vanaprastha Sannyas. Babaji is beyond even sannyasis. They don't belong to any of these Varnas and Ashrams. That's a transcendental position. And that is only for pure devotees. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma, only for them. There's no family, nothing. Just Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Dasanudasa. They just go to Vrindavan. And so if you see our line, it's not like they actually formally accepted sannyas in the disciplic succession after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even from the Goswamis. Only Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, again, there's a history, our Gaudiya Vaishnava history. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, 6 Goswamis and other Goswamis were also there. Everyone was Babajis. And then their next disciples, they were also fine. After Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamanand Pandit, then we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan. After that, there was a lot of, apasampradayas coming up. Many apasampradayas came up. And they just destroyed the Vaishnav culture. In the name of Babaji Vesha, they were doing all types of nonsense. Because Babaji means someone who is beyond the Varnashram system. Varnashram system is for those who are conditioned in this material world. Only when one transcends the material world, he becomes a Babaji. That means when you become a Babaji, you don't have to follow any rules and regulations of the society of this world, Varnashram. That's what Mahaprabhu said, right? I am neither Brahmana, Shudra, Kshatriya, Vaishya. I am only a servant of the Supreme Lord. This is a Babaji. That means they don't follow any particular, so there's no Grihasthas in Babajis. They give up everything. There's no Grihastha, there's no Brahmachari, they're transcendental. So people would give up all duties in this world and in the name of being Babajis, because they didn't get the full faith in bhakti, they didn't get that Shraddha in bhakti, but they immaturely gave up all their duties in this world. No varnas, no duties, no family, but then desires are still there in the heart. So they started doing all sorts of sinful activities, illicit activities, smoking, intoxication, illicit sex, in the name of being Babajis. This continued for a couple of hundred of years. Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur came. He said, no, we cannot pretend to be Babajis, renounced people, when we still have all these desires in our heart. We cannot do that. So then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur instructed his son, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you should introduce Daiva Varnashram. Again, Daiva Varnashram, it's not something that is started by or introduced by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciple Sanatan Goswami wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas, Shatkriya Sara Deepika. These are talking about Daiva Varnashram, the duties for Varnas. What are the duties for, what duties should a Kshatriya do, what duties should a Vaishya do, what duties should a Brahmana do, Grihasthas, what duties they should do. As devotees, still you are following Varnashram. So this is there in the books written by the Goswamis, who were themselves Babajis, but still they gave us the literature, because not everyone in the society is going to be a Babaji. There has to be a bridge connecting us from the fallen state that we are to bring us to the transcendental state eventually. Then it was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur who introduced once again this Varnashram system, beginning with ashram. Prior to that, there were no ashrams. Do you ever see, like, they had this brahmachari ashram or sannyas ashram where everyone is living together prior to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? You don't see. About the Goswamis, we read they're sleeping under a different tree each night. They wear their deity around their neck or put in a bag and hang on the tree. They didn't even have their own temples or anything. Later on, just to engage the people, the deity has come for the sake of the deity, to worship the deity, and the deity worship was also given to engaging different people, initiating them, and then giving them that service like that. So, seeing the condition of the society, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he started the Brahmachari ashram, and then he himself accepted sannyas. How did he take sannyas? He took the picture of his Guru Maharaj in front of him, and then he accepted sannyas. And then he gave sannyas to his disciples. So this sannyas system was started by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in our line. Why? Because people were becoming completely irresponsible. So this sannyas is not the same sannyas as accepted traditionally. So when the scripture says in Kali Yuga sannyas is not allowed, that type of sannyas is not allowed, right? You just we read about the brother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of a sudden he just left home and then he took sannyas. Of course, brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an expansion of Lord Balaram. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also accepted sannyas. But for what purpose? There's a message to be given there. Again, we have been reading under what circumstances Mahaprabhu took sannyas. But generally, why do people accept sannyas? That is the system for those who follow the jnana marga. It is actually essential for you to take sannyas. That's when you can actually enter into the path of jnana. Until and unless you take sannyas, you cannot even enter into jnana. You'll have to follow nishkama karma yoga as long as you have not taken sannyas. When you are a grihastha, you have to continue with nishkama karma yoga. And when you get antakarana shuddhi, purification of heart, then you give up all work. That means you give up your home, your family, your job and everything. Then you start jnana marga. That type of sannyas is forbidden in Kali Yuga, according to scripture. Was that okay?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, what is that Tridandis? What do they offer? It means
Body, mind and words.
words. Okay.
Words, speech. With your body, mind and speech.
Okay.
Surrender to Krishna. So,
Thanks, Mataji.
Priyanka Haripriya Mataji saying devotees call Aindra Prabhu as Aindra Baba. Yes, Aindra Prabhu was actually a very exalted devotee, and but he didn't again, when you follow the Vaidhi Bhakti systematically and sincerely, seriously, that will bring you to higher stages of bhakti. And when you come to the stage of ruchi and asakti, at that stage you switch from Vaidhi to Raganuga Bhakti. So Babajis, they follow, of course, they follow Vaidhi Bhakti, and then also that will lead to Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti means you're following a particular Brajbasi, eternal resident of Braj. One Ragatmika Bhakta, you follow in their footsteps. So, yes, about Aindra Prabhu, it is said that he was on that platform. I don't know much, but I just heard a little bit that he was on that platform. Okay. All right. Yeah, nothing wrong about Babaji. Don't misunderstand that now if somebody is a Babaji, then it is bad. The thing is, you cannot judge, but if you see that wearing the dress of a Babaji and the person is still committing materially sinful activities, even not even following the 4 regulative principles, then you should understand what is the meaning of this Babaji Vesh if you're not even able to control your senses. Babaji means it's beyond. So at least like Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji said, it is better to be an honest sweeper than a charlatan preacher. Charlatan means, like Prabhupada says, quack or quack, right? You understand that? Like somebody who is not a doctor, but he cheats people that he's a doctor. He just sits there and he tries to treat them. That means he's a cheat, right? So you be an honest sweeper, right? You don't have to feel ashamed that you sweep. That's your profession. That's fine. Then you will still make progress. But you pretend to be a sannyasi and behind in private you're committing abominable activities, or you're maintaining sinful desires, and what to speak of acting on them. What type of progress will you make? You're wearing Babaji Vesh, and then that means you're showing and people that you are transcendental. You're outside of the varnashram system. You don't need to follow because you have transcended, and still you're committing these sinful activities. What does that mean? Like that. So it's a very high position to be in Babaji position. But to get there, first you do your preliminary work. That's the point. So therefore, to be on the safe side, we should always follow strictly that which is coming to us through the Guru Parampara. So therefore, everyone needs a Guru, a living Guru, coming in the bona fide disciplic succession, and the living Guru who has served and taken instructions from another Guru directly, coming in the disciplic succession. This is essential. This is essential. Otherwise, not surrendering to any spiritual master, not taking instructions, not serving simply by reading books or taking something from here, something from there, we can be misled. And we can even be thinking that now I'm so exalted, now I'm a pure devotee, I'm a Babaji, but right, it's better to be a simple brahmachari or a simple grihastha. It's fine, and follow the guidelines given by the spiritual master and the acharya in the disciplic succession. You will make some progress that way. But very quickly, through shortcut, you just want to all of a sudden become some, without following the proper procedure. The procedure is to please the spiritual master. That's the method. Like that. Okay. Let's continue. In the Vedic age, a man was did you read this already? Yeah, you did. We discussed also. Yeah. So we discussed. So one nice interesting point here is the woman is compared to a field, agricultural field. Just like in agricultural field, you put the seed and then there's a plant. And whatever, so the land is owned by one person, but he may not grow on his own. He may hire someone else. He'll allow someone else to do the work, planting and everything. But still the land is his, and the produce that is coming out of that is also his. He may give a share of it to the person who's working on the field, or he may pay that person something. But the land, to whoever the land belongs, the produce growing on the land is also his. Similarly, the wife is like agricultural land, and the children produced in that wife belong to the husband, because he is the husband, he is maintaining the wife. That's the point. Therefore, even though Angira Rishi begot children in the wife of Ratitara, the children are considered to be the sons of Ratitara only. That's the point. Next. So next, Jai Shri Mataji and Jai Ganesh Prabhu. एते क्षेत्र प्रसूता वै पुनस्त्वांगिरसाः स्मृताः रथितराणां प्रवराः क्षेत्रोपेता द्विजातयः. Actually, one person can read the whole thing. Either Jai Ganesh Prabhu or Jai Shri Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji. Having been born from the womb of the Ratitara's wife, all the sons were known as the dynasty of Ratitara. But because they were born from the semen of Angira, they were also known as the dynasty of Angira. Among all the progeny of Ratitara, these sons were the most prominent because, owing to their birth, they were considered Brahmanas. Perfect. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura gives the meaning of Dvijataya as mixed caste, indicating a mixture of Brahmana and Kshatriya.
So that's why this is mentioned here about Ratitara's children. Because by the previous calculation, because Ratitara is the husband, the children born of his wife are his children. That way, those children begotten by Angira Muni in Ratitara's wife were Ratitara's sons only. They were Ratitara's sons. Ratitara is a Kshatriya, so his sons are also called Kshatriyas. That's one. And the other thing is, Angira is a very powerful sage, great Brahmana, and it is his seed, right? Just like those who do agriculture, depending on the type of seed that you plant, that's the type of plant that comes up, isn't it? That's why sometimes they do this hybrid, the crossbreeding, in order to give higher, traits in the either in cattle or in plants. The point is, if the seed has certain qualities, those qualities will be visible in the offspring. And here the seed belongs to Angira Muni. And the children born from his seed will have those qualities of Angira Muni. That means the children had Brahminical power, because he is a very powerful Brahmana. Although they were considered the sons of Ratitara, according to previous description, and they are called Kshatriyas, simultaneously they also carried the qualities of Angira Muni, because he fathered them. So they were Brahmanas also. That is why the children of Ratitara, and then all the descendants coming from them, that dynasty coming down from Ratitara, they are considered mixed caste. Mixed in what way? They were Kshatriyas and Brahmanas also. That's the point. Yeah. They call Dvi Jatayah. Jati means caste. Dvijataya, Dvijati. There were mixed castes. They had both Kshatriya and Brahmana. Who said this? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this Dvijatayaha. Right? Okay. So they are also called Brahmanas, they are also called Kshatriyas. Okay. So, Jai Shri Mataji. Shivatastu manorjagye ikshvakurghranatah sutah tasya putra shatajyeshta vikukshi nimi dandakaha. So you can also read the whole thing. Jai Shri Mataji.
Mataji, she's not here.
She's not there, so we will stop here then. I'll read it again tomorrow because it's easy to remember. So if Mataji is there tomorrow, she will read. If not, we'll begin with Isha, Krishna, Shish, Madhava, Rasapriya. All right. So let us read. We'll continue reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday, we read the setting the scene. Yes? Now we'll read preface of Bhagavad Gita. Preface. Originally, I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form, Srila Prabhupada is saying, in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Ishopanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse, its English transliteration, word for word Sanskrit, English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America. But actually, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, since it was started a very long time ago, but is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my eternal spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya, Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. See how Srila Prabhupada writes his Guru Maharaj's name. Let me see. Yeah, we won't, well, maybe we can read the preface today, no problem. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, Almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, right? It's not to show, what my ideas are, how I'm going to interpret the verses of Bhagavad Gita. No. The purpose of this Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission, the purpose for which it was spoken as it is, right? The mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru, etc., we, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary on Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhashya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back home, back to Godhead. Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma or every 8,600,000,000 years. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita and we have to accept it as it is. The purpose for which Krishna descends, the purpose for which Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita is said in Bhagavad Gita itself, and we have to accept it. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjun. How did Arjun understand Krishna? Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. Right? So, in order to save oneself from this offense, what offense? Of not considering the will of Krishna and still trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. That's an offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjun, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so is explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding right consideration, right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. Has to hear what? Bhagavad Gita. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts, every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature, right? Because we are bound by the laws of material nature, we have no knowledge of how strong this material nature is, this external nature is. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and He demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 12th May 1971, Sydney, Australia. So what is the central point of Bhagavad Gita? Let's see who's listening. Who will tell me? What is the central point of Bhagavad Gita?
We have to follow exactly as a central point of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna. And what Krishna says, we have to follow exactly as it is. If Krishna is not there, like that's what it is said, right? That they take off Krishna.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we don't have time. Nilambari Radha.
If we can make at least one pure devotee in this lifetime by preaching by distributing the Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
So I'll just tell you, Madhuri, the central point of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna himself is saying, is that our position is we are eternal servants of Krishna. We are eternal servants of Krishna, and we must serve Krishna. What is happening now? We are trying to serve our own senses, personal sense gratification. We are trying to serve our senses. And Krishna is telling us and demanding that instead of serving our senses, we should serve Krishna's senses. If we don't do this, if we don't serve Krishna's senses, then we will never be happy. That's the point. Everyone must serve Krishna's senses because our position is we are servants of Krishna. And right now, everyone is simply serving his own senses. If he continues like this, if he does this, he will never be happy. He must serve Krishna's senses. That is the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, thank you for trying that. And let's also read a little bit of
Thank you, Mataji.
Ilamrita, please, because yesterday also we didn't read, and then we'll lose the connection. Even if we read a little bit, we will have that connection. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So Srila Prabhupada is there now. How did we go back? No, we didn't go back. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada is in. So we saw the poem written in Boston Harbor, and again he got back on the Jaladuta and went to New York. Okay. I'll just read the previous paragraph so you'll remember, and then today's. Srila Prabhupada was dressed appropriately for a resident of Vrindavan. He wore kanti mala and a simple cotton dhoti, and he carried japamala and an old chadar or shawl. His complexion was golden, his head shaven, shikha in the back, his forehead decorated with the whitish Vaishnav tilak. He wore pointed white rubber slippers, not uncommon for sadhus in India, but who in New York had ever seen or dreamed of anyone appearing like this Vaishnav? He was possibly the first Vaishnav sannyasi to arrive in New York with uncompromised appearance. Of course, New Yorkers have an expertise in not giving much attention to any kind of strange new arrival. Now today's reading. Srila Prabhupada was on his own. Now he is in New York. He had a sponsor, Mr. Agarwal, somewhere in Pennsylvania. Surely someone would be here to greet him, although he had little idea of what to do as he walked off the ship onto the pier. I did not know whether to turn left or right. He passed through the dockside formalities and was met by a representative from Travelers' Aid sent by the Agarwals in Pennsylvania, who offered to take him to the Skindia ticket office in Manhattan to book his return passage to India. At the Skindia office, Prabhupada spoke with the ticket agent Joseph Forster, who was impressed by this unusual passenger's Vaishnav appearance. His light luggage, traveling internationally with such, very little luggage, and his apparent poverty. He regarded Prabhupada as a priest. Most of Skindia's passengers were businessmen or families, so Mr. Forster had never seen a passenger wearing the traditional Vaishnav dress of India. He found Srila Prabhupada to be a pleasant gentleman who spoke of the nice accommodations and treatment he had received aboard the Jaladuta. Prabhupada asked Mr. Forster to hold space for him on a return ship to India. His plans were to leave in about 2 months, and he told Mr. Forster that he would keep in touch, carrying only 40 rupees cash, which he himself called a few hours spending in New York, and an additional $20 he had collected from selling 3 volumes of the Bhagavatam to Captain Pandya. Srila Prabhupada, with umbrella and suitcase in hand, and still escorted by the Travelers' Aid representative, set out for the Port Authority bus terminal to arrange for his trip to Butler. So we will stop there. Tomorrow we'll begin the next chapter. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Mataji, just listening to that is also so fearful.
I know.
Only Krishna knows how he did it. Oh my God.
That is called faith. That is called, and at his age,
And no one is coming to pick up. He doesn't even know what he will eat, where he will stay. Oh my God, in a foreign place. Oh my God. I remember when I went to Bangkok first time for work. Of course, I was very young, so I had that fear, Although a company arranged for accommodation and everything, still I had that fear, everything is arranged. And without arranging anything, oh my God, at that age, I would have died probably.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'll see you tomorrow.